The problem with this is it is purely intuition. It's unexamined, and it risks doing damage to the data and the cultures from which the data emerge. So when we use intuition, we got to think about this. You get this feeling like, okay, why does it feel like magic? Why does it smell like magic? Why does it look like magic? What makes it different from what we usually see in the world as being non-magic? So from that, I like to think about, what do we naturally cluster together on magic? Spells, ritual acts, enchanted objects, magic circles, invoking angels, chorusing deities, root work, manipulating herbs and whatnot, fire offerings. All these things kind of go together like, yeah, that's magic. Well, why? Think about why we cluster those together. And furthermore, well, why do we connect magic to other things in the paranormal? So if we see something co-locates, like say spells for love and spells for murder, they go together. Why? If we find them in the same place all the time, we need to start thinking, why do we find them in the same place all the time? In recent ufological and Bigfoot literature, I'm interested in the paranormal, we see often that UFO encounters are accompanied by encounters with the dead, often at the same time. So that suggests that, say, Bigfoots, ghosts, UFOs, all these things, they're clustered together. There's some aspect of something that everyone's encountering, and we don't know what that is. So it's paranormal. Okay, so anthropology, anthropos, logos, the study of man and cultures, sets out these two terms, emic and edic. So emic is the term used by, emic refers to insiders, people who are religious themselves, to those who are studied. And edic is by outsiders, scholars, those who studied. I like to think of it that way. Emic, something someone says who's being studied by a scholar. Edic, what a scholar makes a judgment on and how a scholar describes things. I mean, this gets complicated. What do we do with folk who use the term magic or an analog for magic and self-identify? In fact, philology actually shows that the term magus or magic comes from the term magoi or magai, coming from early Greek and Persian. Remember the gift of the Magi, the three wise men? Well, they are actually three wise magicians who came to visit Christ in Bethlehem on that holy night. So what I like to think about is, when I study, I like to think that I'm doing sort of historical anthropology, so studying man and culture over periods of time, using my text as data. I'll read magic spells as if I was an anthropologist going out and observing a cultural group and making observations. I'm doing historical anthropology, but my data, instead of ethnography, instead of going and living with a group and a culture, is reading the text. From the data, from the spells we read, we can reverse engineer this thing called magic. Always put the data first. If you have a definition of magic and then go find the data to fit, you're only ever going to prove your initial argument. If you have a tentative definition of magic, and then you find a lot of data, a lot of evidence of magic, and then you work from there to create a new and more nuanced definition of magic, that's how you do it, with your rickety bicycle. Okay, the discourse of inclusion and exclusion is a thing I've been thinking about a lot, especially for something I'm writing right now. Now, within magic, we see them both. The data for magic rituals, blah, blah, wait a minute. Hold on. Yeah, okay, I got ahead of myself. I got to go back to that. Okay, so magic rituals. Magic rituals are really the focus of what we're going to be looking at here. So ritual, according to Edmonds, is broadly defined as symbolic action, which may include speech, gesture, movement, or other kinds of symbolic actions. Without a ritual, if you're not looking at a ritual, you're not looking at magic per se. You're looking at miracles. You're looking at superhuman powers, acts of grace, charismatic connection to deities, mental powers, and so forth. What we're going to look at is magic rituals. So everything we're going to look at is going to either have a specific ritual that is used, or when thinking about witchcraft, a fear of a ritual done, or a counter ritual to do against a ritual. So really focus on rituals. Now, when I think about rituals, I like to think of them as having two ends, either transcendental or pragmatic. I know I'm throwing a lot of vocabulary at you, but a lot of this is going to come back around. So pragmatic ends are this worldly, discrete. They're not part of a sequence of rituals. They're individual. They're on the small scale. This is, I lost my goat. Might I make this offering to goddess Shashti to find my goat? Transcendental ends affect salvation, maintenance of culture, maintaining cult, life cycle transitions, maintain nature, marriages, church services, prayers to bless the government. So transcendental, they're general, they maintain the culture and the world. With magic, we're generally dealing with pragmatic, to the point that I define magic as pragmatic ritual technologies.